Hello everyone, and welcome to the 5th episode of Bardic Inspiration's Campaign Stew. I'm Matthew, and this series will use the power of artificial intelligence to help us all engage with new and creative ideas to generate plot points for your next Dungeons & Dragons or any other RPG campaign. With the help of our friend Chronicle, brought here from the forges of creation themselves, we bring you generated plot points to draw inspiration from, as we reshape and mold them into usable plot hooks for your games at home. So everyone, say hello to Chronicle, and let's get started.
Hello, I am Chronicle, your guide to a fountain of unlimited knowledge. Within my data storage lies countless stories of heroism, betrayal, and mystery. Allow us to begin.
Thank you, Chronicle. I've just received our first story for today. Remember, we'll be trying to create a campaign hook that you could use for your group of nerds at home. So listen carefully to these excerpts that Chronicle has given us, and think of how differently you could run a campaign or write a story based on these ideas. Let's begin. The man who would become known as the Witherer was once just another villager in his home country. He had been born and raised among others like him. He knew how to hunt and fish for himself, could use simple tools, such as knives and hammers, without help from anyone else, though most villagers were more than willing to lend a hand if asked, and generally led an unremarkable life with little excitement. That all changed when the king's forces came through and slaughtered everyone there except for him, including his mother and sister. After being captured and tortured mercilessly over several months, he escaped into the forest, where he lived on berries until he found his way here, though you cannot know it now. That is why we have never heard of any other survivors coming out of this place. It has always seemed unlikely, since those taken captive usually die within days after their escape. So, I think we can safely assume that none survived long enough to find their way back here. That makes sense, said Fennel quietly. I don't suppose you'd tell us exactly which god took pity on our friend? The old woman shook her head sadly. No, my child, not unless you're prepared to go there yourself. There's only one way to do it. Travel deep inside the temple itself. She pointed towards a large building at the edge of the town. Here's a very mysterious plotline. As of right now, I'm unsure of where this could be going, but it certainly sets the stage for what will hopefully be a grand adventure. We are teased with the name of the Witherer, which could be the setup for the villain in this story. It looks like Chronicle has made sure there's plenty of backstory on this character, so your party could explore and uncover the history of a rather sympathetic villain. We also learned that, wherever this village is, there is something dangerous that lurks in the forest. Could this be the Witherer? Or maybe this setup is hinting at something completely different. Could the Witherer be in opposition to this monster in the forest? Chronicle, let's dive deeper, shall we?
Right away, though the spooky ambience of this tale may frighten the light of heart.
We haven't covered much in the way of horror, and I can't say it's really my kind of thing, but I'm all for variety. Let's continue. Fennel prepared himself while they made camp outside of the village. The next day, they set off early before dawn and traveled quickly along the path leading deeper into the woods. By noon, the trees thinned slightly, allowing them to see far ahead across the clearing. As soon as they did, however, they saw something very strange indeed. A huge stone statue stood atop a pedestal carved with runes and symbols. Atop its base lay two human skulls, both freshly picked clean of flesh. The sight sent shivers down even Fennel's spine. They moved closer still and noticed that the ground around the statue was stained red, though whether blood or rust was hard to say. Upon further inspection, the stones beneath the feet were also covered in the same crimson substance. As they walked up to investigate, they realized that the entire thing was frozen solid, much like the rest of this forest. And upon a closer examination, they discovered that the ice covering the statue wasn't actually part of the structure itself. Rather, it appeared to be some sort of magical barrier surrounding the entire area. Beyond it lay nothing but blackness. Very creepy. Fennel seems like a character who lives in the village near the forest, therefore having a vested interest in this plotline. Maybe in your campaign, Fennel could be the character that approaches your heroes to ask them for help in this quest. In his investigation, he finds something bone-chilling. Get it? Bones? He finds bones. Something that tells us immediately what's happening to the folk who go wandering in these woods. Whether it's a monster feasting upon travelers or a sinister ritual requiring human sacrifice is currently unknown, but you can make that decision based on what fits your campaign best. Further inquiry on the statue atop the pedestal reveals a shimmer of magic surrounding it, as well as a magical darkness preventing Fennel from surveying the environment once more. What need would there be to this use of magic? Is it a ritualistic altar? Did this pedestal come from another plane of existence similar to the Witherer? And still, what connection does the Witherer have to this location? Chronicle, let's wrap this story up.
No taste for Lovecraftian horror, I see. Perhaps you would enjoy something more fitting of Looney Tunes or the Wiggles.
Well, that's just mean. Suddenly, the ground began to shake, and the Witherer appeared. His face was pale and gaunt, almost skeletal. He looked like someone who hadn't seen sunlight in years, yet his eyes burned brightly and showed no signs of weakness. For a moment, he stared straight at Fennel. Then, without warning, he charged forward, screaming incoherently. Before either of them could react, he grabbed Fennel and dragged him close, then slammed his forehead against Flynn's chest. For a second, everything went dark. Then suddenly, Fennel felt warmth rushing through his body. When he opened his eyes again, he saw the withered corpse standing right beside him, looking just as alive and vibrant as ever. In fact, he seemed to be stronger than he had before. He turned to look at Fennel. "Are you ready?" he whispered. "You will need to make your choice soon." It seems odd that the Witherer would appear here rather than in the nearby temple, but perhaps it is because this is the last remaining piece of land between the forest and the city. If he wanted to take control of the people here, surely he would want to ensure that he had a firm hold over every inch of territory. Perhaps this is the first step in making sure that he does just that. Alright, so confirmation that the Witherer is our villain. You can make the decision on just where the Witherer came from. Is he some sort of spectral spirit seeking revenge? Is he an extraplanar being taking his explosive anger out on those in this realm? I would lean toward the idea that he is a spirit, so you can easily tie his anger to something that has happened in your campaign setting. With the idea that he was tortured, his family was murdered, and he was left on his own to survive, this man would have been desperate enough to try anything to get his life back. Maybe these dark times led him down the path of becoming a lich. That could be why he feeds on these innocent people, to absorb their power into his own. The players could attempt to reason with him, after finding evidence of the Witherer's past, and talk him into passing on to the Eternal and be with his family. Or, if your players are less inclined to diplomacy and more inclined to violence, they could just dispatch him in a heroic battle. Either way, let's build a plot hook for your personal use. Here's what we've come up with. A small village plagued by mysterious tidings deep in the forest above sees more and more inhabitants gone missing each passing year. Without understanding the nature of these events, the locals warn all to stay clear of the forests, with rumors attributing the cause to the Witherer. Fennel, a brave local seeking answers to these disappearances, asks aid from adventurers to help save his village. From today's tales, what plot threads could you come up with? What did I miss? Was there anything today that gave you a bard's inspiration? Share your ideas down below, and make sure you never miss another video. Remember, tools like Chronicle are a great resource for overcoming writer's block, but they aren't here to do all the work for you. Stories are meant to be told by us, the bards. Maybe this exercise helped turn some wheels inside your mind. Maybe you could take part of today's lesson and use it in your adventures. Maybe there are more mysteries to be uncovered, but I leave those for you to decide. After all, it's not my story to tell. Safe travels, friend.